Well, good morning. Thank you all very much for being here this morning. I'm State Representative Joan Ballweg. I represent the 41st Assembly District that goes from Ripon on the eastern edge all the way to Wisconsin Dells and Lake Delton on the west. This morning I'm here to unveil the Sexual Assault Amnesty Bill. Under this bill, a victim of sexual assault would not be issued an underage drinking citation. This protection is extended to a bystander who is assisting the victim and is for any individual under the age of 21 across the state of Wisconsin. There are some troubling statistics around sexual assault regarding the low numbers of reported cases. According to the National Institute of Justice, fewer than 5% of rapes of college women are reported to law enforcement officials. The 2015 report on the AAU Campus Climate Survey on Sexual Assault and Sexual Misconduct also showed low reporting numbers for other forms of sexual assault. In that same report, nearly 75% of students who were victims of non-consensual sexual penetration by use of physical force had been consuming alcohol at the time of the assault. It's time that we do something to help the victims of sexual assault. This legislation will provide underage victims of sexual assault some peace of mind when deciding to come forward to report their assault. I'd like to bring first Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimel up. The Department of Justice has been our partner in drafting this legislation, and I thank you and your office for that assistance. Attorney General.
Thank you, Representative Ballweg.
Yep, go right ahead.
Victims of sex crimes already have a tough decision to make when deciding whether or not to involve law enforcement when they have been assaulted. As a veteran prosecutor, I have seen time and time again how difficult it is for a victim of sexual violence to seek help from the criminal justice system. If they come forward, the path before them is usually very difficult. They may face invasive medical exams, embarrassing questions about their lives and their actions, and aggressive challenges to their credibility and character. They often find out that people they thought they could count on were not really friends. This sexual assault amnesty bill breaks down one barrier to reporting to law enforcement and seeking medical attention when an underage person falls victim to sexual assault or is assisting a friend who has been assaulted. This legislation recognizes head-on that perpetrators of sexual assault routinely use alcohol as a weapon to weaken the defenses of their victims. We all rely on victims of sexual assault to make reports to law enforcement. If they do not, perpetrators continue to assault and there will be more victims. Therefore, we must do what we can to reduce the barriers to reporting. This bill does just that by letting victims know that they do not need to worry about being cited for drinking or facing school discipline when they are trying to decide what to do when confronted with one of the most difficult circumstances a young person will ever face. From a practical standpoint, this is happening very much in the system already. In our universities and in law enforcement, we very much are doing this, but we need to convey that message to victims that they can be confident. They don't need to worry about that. And the fear of consequences for drinking should never come in the way of a victim seeking help and being treated by medical professionals after a horrific crime like sexual assault. And we know that if a victim hesitates, it can be harder for law enforcement and medical professionals to gather the evidence necessary to search for the truth. I'm proud as Attorney General to work with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Chancellor Rebecca Blank on important campus safety and justice issues. I look forward to a continued partnership with the Chancellor on many issues such as this. I'm also thrilled to see UW-Madison Assistant Police Chief Carrie Sasso is here along with some of her troops. They're here because they're on the victim's side and they support this. And also, the Wisconsin Coalition Against Sexual Assault's Director of Prevention, Kelly Litke, is here today. Thank you both for your work to make sure our state is safer. This legislation has the support of educators, law enforcement, victim advocates, and a bipartisan group of state legislators because it is a common sense plan that will help give power back to victims who have experienced a tragic event and a loss of control to offender. Thank you, Representative Ballweg and Senator Petrowski, for making this sexual assault amnesty bill a priority during this legislative session.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. All right. Oh, thank you. Because the next speaker may be there are provisions in this legislation that specifically address the University of Wisconsin system, and I'm happy to welcome Chancellor Rebecca Blank of UW-Madison now to discuss those. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and I want to start by thanking Representative Ballweg and Senator Petrowski for their work on this very, very important bill. Sexual assault concerns me deeply, not just as the leader of the University of Wisconsin campus here in Madison, but also as the mother of a college sophomore. The question that is in the mind of every parent when they drop their son or their daughter off at college is always, will they be safe here? Safety is a shared responsibility that we must all work on together. I'd like to acknowledge a few campus partners who are addressing the issue of sexual assault on our campus, including the UW Police Department, well represented here behind me, University Health Services, and the student organization PAVE. The Sexual Assault Amnesty Bill mirrors responsible action guidelines that we've implemented on our campus. How it works on campus is that in those cases where a student has been a victim of sexual assault and or violent crime while under the influence of alcohol, neither the Dean of Students, University Housing, nor the University of Wisconsin-Madison Police will pursue disciplinary actions against the student victim or against a witness for his or her improper alcohol consumption, such as underage drinking. When a student calls on behalf of an impaired individual, remains with that individual until assistance arrives, and fully cooperates with the emergency responders, the caller will not be subject to disciplinary actions from the Department of University Housing or citation by UW-Madison Police for drinking. Our data show students who experience a sexual assault or similar misconduct will often turn to a trusted peer for support. We want to encourage more people in our community to intervene when they observe someone in a potentially difficult situation and to feel they can report those incidents to the police or the Dean of Students without facing legal or campus discipline for alcohol use. Thank you again, Representative Baldwin, for your work. Thank you to the Attorney General for his support on this issue, and thank you to everyone for your attention to this important legislation.
Thank you, Chancellor. Next, we would like to turn to the University of Wisconsin Police Department that has provided valuable input as we were drafting this legislation. Today, I'd like to thank UW Assistant Police Chief Carrie Sasso for joining us, along with her several of her other officers. Chief?
Good morning. I'm Carrie Sasso, Assistant Chief at University of Wisconsin-Madison. On behalf of Chief Susan Reisling and everyone at UW-Madison Police Department, thank you, Representative Ballweg, for your important work on this bill. Sexual assault is a serious crime, and it's an issue we're taking on full force here at UW. In order to have better odds at stopping it, we need to do all we can to encourage survivors of sexual assault to come forward to report this crime. So we can do our jobs as law enforcement to hold the perpetrator accountable for their actions. We know there are factors that come into play when a survivor is deciding whether or not to come forward to police, to the university, to counselors, and report the crime. We know through surveys and in conversations with survivors that the fear of getting in trouble because of their own unlawful consumption of alcohol can be one of the barriers. As Chancellor Blank just mentioned, at UW-Madison, a victim of sexual assault and a cooperating bystander never face police or student disciplinary actions because of underage drinking. This is a bill that expands our current policy and practice at UW-Madison statewide, and that's a good thing. This is a bill that needs to become a reality for every underage survivor in our state. We need to take care of survivors of this awful crime, and we need them to make sure they know they're in a safe place when they come forward and talk to us. We need them to tell us and know they don't have to worry. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Another partner as we developed this proposal was the Wisconsin Coalition Against Sexual Assault. We have Kelly Litke is with us today, and we'd like to pass the microphone off to her at this time. Kelly?
Good morning. My name is Kelly Litke, and I'm the Director of Prevention at the Wisconsin Coalition Against Sexual Assault, also known as WCASA. WCASA is a membership agency comprised of organizations and individuals working to end sexual violence in Wisconsin. Among these are the 51 sexual assault service provider agencies throughout the state that offer support, advocacy, and information to survivors and their families. WCASA supports the Sexual Assault Amnesty Act and thanks Representative Ballweg, Senator Petrowski, and the Attorney General Schimmel for their leadership on this important matter. 1 in 5 women is sexually assaulted while in college. Survivors face many barriers which contribute to low reporting rates for sexual assault, particularly on college campuses. Students who were drinking at the time of the assault are hesitant to report the incidents due to fear of possible consequences for their conduct. Sexual assault is always the fault of the perpetrator, regardless of whether alcohol or other substances were involved in the crime. We must ensure that survivors have the full support of law enforcement and their community so they feel safe to report. It is only through the courage of survivors coming forward to report these crimes that we can hold perpetrators accountable. WCASA appreciates that this bill not only removes a barrier to reporting for survivors, it sends the message that survivors are not to blame for the violence committed against them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, before we take any questions, I'd like to recognize some of our other partners in this. We have Mike Austin here with us, also with the Attorney General's Office and Department of Justice. Having their support on this legislation has been greatly appreciated. I'd also like to thank the office of Senator Jerry Petrowski for his work and thank him for being the Senate author of this bill. Senator Petrowski was unable to be with us today. So with that, I thank you all very much for being with us today. If there are any questions.
So are there specific instances on other UW campuses where survivors or others who report sexual assaults have been sanctioned by those campuses because of underage consumption?
We are unaware of any current in talking with the Chancellor and with Attorney General Schimmel. This is understood to be the process across most jurisdictions of Wisconsin, but by doing this particular legislation, we're making sure that we have the force of law to make sure that there will not be any citations in those kinds of situations. Sure, right ahead.
We have come a long way as a state in our universities and our law enforcement to have a much more compassionate and sensible approach when victims come forward. The problem is they're told when they start at school or wherever they're told if you drink under 21, police are going to cite you. You can have discipline and other consequences in your education. A big part of this is conveying to them the message that we're not going to worry about those little things. They are so relevant, they are so insignificant compared to the more serious issues. So this is about giving them confidence that they can come forward and we're not going to look for some reason to get them in trouble.
How long has the policy been in place on the Madison campus?
As long as I've been there, but I'll ask the Assistant Chief.
It's been a practice of ours for quite a long time. However, I would say 5 years or so.
Are there any, can you point to an increase in reported sexual assaults since the policy went into effect?
We have had increase over the last several years. However, we've also been doing some other programs as well. So we're trying to remove as many barriers as possible for reporting this crime.
So will this lead to then a change in how this is presented on campus? Those orientation, things that the Attorney General is talking about. Do you expect to make a change there?
So we have been trying to increase our communication with people about the importance of reporting sexual assault, about the importance of protecting your friends, of helping them if you see them in a difficult situation, and we're rolling out a number of things on this. We have been telling them that if you are drinking but are helping a friend, we will focus on the sexual assault issue and not on the drinking issue. But I think being able to say, look, under the law of Wisconsin, this is not just our practice, but this is the law, does have a certain depth of convincingness to it. that doesn't exist, why don't we just say, well, in general, we won't do that?
I believe I heard Chancellor Blank mention, so it's not just sexual assault that this would apply to, the possibility that other violent crimes as well?
This bill just addresses the issue of sexual assault.
Just-
The UW-Madison policy is, what's the proper term you use, violent crime?
Correct.
Victims of violent crime
Okay.
is something that is in place on the UW-Madison campus, but this bill only addresses victims of sexual assault.
Do you have a sense of, I know we're getting close to the end of this session, is this something that you're looking to get done before?
Absolutely. This is actually a concept that isn't new. It's a concept that I've been working on now. This is the third term. We've been working very closely with the Attorney General's office to get this right. That's what has caused a little bit of a delay, but we've been very diligently talking to everyone that we would expect to be partners, like the Sexual Assault Coalition, the Police Chiefs Association, the UW-Madison Police Chief. So we believe that we have this on a good path. We're hoping to get a expedited public hearing and get this out this year. I think Senator Petrowski in the Senate will prove to be a very valuable partner in getting this accomplished.
Would immunity only apply to the actual victim of the assault, or any of the, if you're with a friend or someone?
This is the victim and the bystander that is with them, assisting them throughout the process. So this is the person that helped them get to law enforcement, went with them to seek medical attention.
Going back to the previous question about this applying just to sexual assault, the reason that we are doing this just with sexual assault, because there is no other crime that goes so underreported as sexual assault. If you're burglarized, if your home is burglarized, or you're robbed in an alley, or whatever kind of crime, you call police and you say something. This crime goes underreported because there's so many psychological and emotional dynamics that go into it, and we're removing this barrier is an important piece to giving victims confidence that they'll find a system that's ready to listen to them.
Any other questions?
For someone with UW Police, I can recall a couple of years ago there was a fairly similar kind of Good Samaritan proposal that came forward in regards to drinking that UW Police opposed. Is it, are you more willing to support this because it's more narrowly tailored to sexual assault reporting?
Yeah, we're on board because this is such an underreported crime, and we really want to take care of the victims, and that's what this is about.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.